Hello and welcome to season 2026 of AFL Tonight. I'm Drew Jones. These are our top stories. The Hawthorn midfield takes another hit with their prime mover and co-captain suspended. Who needs Vegas? The red carpet rolled out in Sydney as we count down to opening round. And Collingwood star Nick Dacos joins us on AFL Tonight as he outlines how he plans to take his game to a new level this season. Great to have your company for our season opening show for AFL Tonight. We're not far away from the footy getting underway. Hawthorn will appeal the suspension handed to newly appointed co-captain Jai Newcombe. David Zeta joins us for the latest. David, good to see you. Newcombe was involved in a contentious tackle. What did the match review officer find?
Good evening, Drew. Yes, the Hawthorn Football Club will be taking Jai Newcombe's one-match ban for a dangerous tackle to the tribunal. So the MRO findings were that this was careless conduct with medium impact and high contact. Now, Ed Richards got up and played on after this tackle, but the potential to cause injury is what the AFL has always relied on when, for the most part, when upgrading these incidents from low impact to medium. So that's what's happened here, you would suspect, given no actual head injury was suffered by Richards. So that dangerous tackle has been pretty much expelled from the game, really, over recent seasons, given the crackdown that we saw on it a few years back and how effective that has been at changing behaviours. This one, though, the Hawks adamant that this was not a dangerous tackle and they will be taking it to the tribunal. If it was, they're going to have to argue that this was low impact rather than medium impact, or that it was negligible impact and it couldn't be upgraded to medium. And of course, the careless nature of it as well. They can try and argue that this wasn't a dangerous tackle, full stop. If they are successful in either of those arguments, then he would be free to play against the Giants in opening round. Of course, such a vital player for them, given all the talk about their midfield depth. They're already missing a few key players, so their co-captain would certainly be welcome in that side, and they are desperate to get him there for opening round. Now, Harry Schellenberg from the West Coast Eagles, he received a one-match ban for striking. Now, these off-the-ball hits are something the AFL is very keen to crack down on in 2026, and this was one of those that they are trying to stamp out. So he's been offered a one-match ban. They have until tomorrow to decide whether to appeal, tomorrow morning that is. And there was a Sam Durham tackle on Ryan Burns that had a few people talking in the AFL industry wondering whether this would constitute a dangerous tackle. That wasn't mentioned in the MRO findings. So you can only assume that there was a secondary motion there with Ryan Burns and his head hitting the ground that the MRO thought wasn't worthy of a reportable offence. So that's where that stands. But Jai Newcombe, the Hawthorn co-captain, will be heading to the tribunal tomorrow night. So we're already up and running with the tribunals before a ball has even been bounced to start season 2026, and it's a pretty big one too.
Yes, David, right in your wheelhouse, no doubt about that. So rule changes are always a hot topic heading into the season, and changes to the ruck rule are the most contentious of those. So how has the league responded after the pre-season slate has been completed?
Well, we know, of course, Max Gawn, one of the league's premier ruckmen over such a long period of time, just racks up all Australian Guernseys for fun. He is someone who has been pretty outspoken about this new ruck rule, particularly. So the rule, just to let everyone know once more if they're not across it already, the rucks are forbidden from crossing the centre line before engaging with the opposition ruckman. Now, that has obviously not been the case in previous years. It has led to a bit of consternation and discussion from many footy onlookers and former ruckmen and present ruckmen, Gawn including, not overly happy with some of the interpretations of it. Brodie Grundy appeared to have found a loophole in a pre-season match that Greg Swan, the league's footy boss, he admitted quite openly that they weren't really expecting that. So they've got a bit of work to do behind closed doors to see how they adjust to this. Max Gawn has spoken about it. Andrew Dillon, the AFL CEO, was presented with Max Gawn's comments about the potential for more PCL injuries and the fact that it doesn't cater for all sorts of people in the game. And this is what the league chief had to say in Sydney a bit earlier today.
One of the things with our rules is that the health and safety of our players is paramount. Someone of Max's stature, you always take on board what he says. I feel Max has had 16, 17 years playing under the current rules, but I know a player of his ability and experience will adapt to the new rules.
So Melbourne St Kilda, the D's, of course, not playing in opening round. They will be facing the D's in round one at the MCG. So we'll see how Max Gawn goes about it against one of Tom de Koning or Rowan Marshall. The Saints very much fancy to rise up the ladder this year. They've got a massive game against Collingwood in opening round at the MCG, a home game. So the great ground beside me will be filled with over 90,000 fans potentially. But the ruck rules are one of many rules we're all on the lookout for this season. They've already been pretty interesting in the pre-season, to say the least. How they go in season 2026 once it properly gets underway from this Thursday, that's another case entirely, Drew.
Yeah, Max so outspoken about this, Zeets. Now, his former teammate called it quits yesterday, and the club, well, they've moved very quickly to fill the void. What can you tell us about the aftermath of Stephen May's departure?
Yeah, so we'll start with who they've brought in to replace him. So him retiring yesterday and obviously today, the pre-season supplemental selection period closes today, so it allows the clubs to get another player into their list, and Paddy Cross from Casey is that player that they've brought in, so he gets a chance in the big time. But of course, a lot of the talk and the chatter was about Stephen May's future. We haven't seen him at pre-season training. He's been absent from the club on personal leave. There have been a couple of off-field incidents that have drawn the attention of the courts. Of at least there was a police call to his house in January, and there was also an incident in Sorrento in late 2024 that continues to go before the courts. So there's been a fair bit of a cloud over his future, and after 251 games, Stephen May on Instagram yesterday said that he was retiring from the game. Now, retiring, yes, he is, but there is also some added elements to this. Now, the D's have reached a financial settlement with Stephen May in the last year of his current deal, and of course, he was told at the end of last year to explore his options. Clubs opted not to take the risk with him and to bring him across, obviously heading towards his mid-30s and not guaranteed of getting a senior game at the D's. The writing was on the wall. He's decided to leave the club. But also, I think it should be said, the D's also had a bit of a say in it as well. Their new CEO, Paul Guerra, spoke earlier today. This is how he characterised and described the decision for Stephen May and the Melbourne Football Club to part ways.
Certainly there was an open dialogue between myself and Stephen and his manager. We wanted to make sure that, first and foremost, given the challenges that Stephen was going through, he was supported. But we also, need to recognise that it's more than just Stephen inside the footy club. We've got standards and values that need to be met. If Stephen couldn't meet those, like anyone else, they need to think about what their future is. And Stephen, on this occasion, decided that he couldn't focus on his family and his own self, as well as meeting the rigours of AFL football, so he's decided to retire.
So as you can see behind me, I'm sure, Drew, not the greatest of conditions here in Melbourne today, and the D's did hit the track regardless of that, just to get put through their paces ahead of their round one clash against St Kilda. Of course, not playing opening round, as we mentioned, but Max Gawn out there leading the troops, as he so often has. But there are just so many different faces, and it's more who you don't see out there. So Clayton Oliver, Christian Petrarca, both traded. We know, of course, Stephen May now retired, and also Jack Viney on the sidelines with an injury for the first fair few rounds of the season as well. So it is a markedly different lineup you'll be seeing from the D's in 2026. A new coach, a new CEO, a new president. It has all changed at this football club. Max Gawn, one of the only constants there. So how they fare in 2026 will be one of the key storylines we are tracking. Stephen May, probably just a prelude to the season proper, of course. Once it gets underway, we can assess then. But a fair bit of change at the D's has taken place, and one more bit of change yesterday with Stephen May's departure.
All right, Zeets, appreciate the update. We'll check in with you soon. All right, the AFL is keen to persist with opening round as the Northern States again get set to host the first 4 games of the season. The league's heavy hitters were in Sydney today ahead of Thursday's opening night at the SCG.
A slightly different approach to the rival code. Sydney Town Hall the scene as the AFL prepares for the season opener at the SCG on Thursday night. Not quite rugby league in Las Vegas.
Look, I saw a little bit of it on the TV yesterday, and as they've done the last few years, executed it really well, and it's a good way for them to start their season. We do things differently.
The AFL is backing the opening round concept, where the first 4 games are played across Sydney, Gold Coast and Brisbane, and they have the numbers to support it.
And what we found in the last couple of years is actually that focus on New South Wales and Queensland has really helped grow awareness in New South Wales and Queensland, and at the same time hasn't taken away from our round one. The last 2 round ones have been in the 2 highest attended rounds we've ever had of over 400,000.
It's the 3rd year that the race for the Premiership Cup has begun in Sydney, and while there's still work to be done, the game is leaving its mark in the Harbour City. Just ask inaugural giant Nick Haynes.
When we first got here, all they wanted to know was where's Israel Folau. That's all they wanted to know. So once they knew he wasn't there, they weren't too interested. But as time goes on, the Auskick clinics that we used to do up here, from when I first started to when I left, the growth was massive.
Nick Haynes won't feature for the Blues when they clashed with the Swans due to an ankle injury. It'll be a strange start for a few. Charlie Curnow fronts up against his old club, while Will Hayward and Ollie Florent return to the SCG in navy blue for the first time.
No, they're revving the boys up. They're excited. Logan probably knows them pretty well, and they're pretty outgoing boys, so they're just so excited to start the season like everyone else.
McDonald hasn't played since the 2024 Grand Final due to his own injury worries. Now fit and learning to gel with Curnow up forward.
Just trying to work in synergy with him, I guess, sort of try to isolate each other and put each other in the best positions to be able to succeed. I think we both bring different strengths, and being able to complement each other is something that we're going to look to try to do.
Collingwood's reluctance for opening round has seen the Hawks head north. An early grudge match against the Giants after Hawthorn ended GWS's season in last year's elimination final.
Yeah, always. I think when someone knocks you out in the finals, you don't take it very lightly. So yeah, I think there's going to be it's going to be a great game. They're obviously a really talented side.
Hawks midfielder Will Day is eyeing a mid-season return from a shoulder reconstruction. In good news, it'll allow him to strengthen his troublesome foot.
We got to a stage coming into this year that we were really confident with where it was at, but I hope by the end of this rehab for the shoulder we can look back and see it as a bit of a blessing in disguise that we're able to completely bulletproof it. So that's the positive that I'm holding out on.
Jeff Smith, Fox Sports News.
He's already one of the game's best players, but Nick Dacos is out to take his game to a new level this season. Collingwood star spoke with David Zeta about the areas he's hoping to improve and the Pies' preparation for the new campaign.
I feel like as competitors, you're sort of never satisfied. You always feel like you've got areas for improvement. Love to become a more well-rounded midfielder and be able to push forward. So marking, some of my pressure work, I just want to keep improving in that. A lot of that stuff too is physical too. So making sure that I'm fit enough to pressure and then push forward and try and expose opposition players.
Do you feel like you've gotten fitter? Because everyone, Lords, talks about your fitness and how much running you do. Have you improved it again?
I'd say so. I've had a really good pre-season with my body and continuity in training. So naturally, they set up a great program and ticked off most sessions. So feeling good heading into the season.
Been a few injuries, a few of the older boys this pre-season. How do you, I guess, take all the external stuff, everyone talking about the age and that being a factor? Do you tap into that and try and prove people wrong, or how do you use the age as a benefit as opposed to a weakness?
Yeah, not really. We know inside the four walls how much of value these sort of older players do have for us. They've been through a lot and had so many experiences, so we're like sponges to them. We try and absorb all their knowledge, and with the injuries front, I think we've probably had our biggest and best pre-season as a team, so naturally when you're pushing that line of working so hard, there is going to be a couple injuries, but I think the benefits we'll get from it will far outweigh the injuries, and hopefully a few of those boys will be back soon.
I'm putting you on the spot here, but Joel Cochran, we hear a lot about him replacing the Jeremy Howe void early days. Can you just tell people who might not be that familiar with him what he brings?
Yeah, really good player, really versatile, quick, agile for his height. Always provides a contest, really competitive, so and also a good ball user, so he'll fit right in. I still think Jeremy Howe's got plenty of good footy left for us. He's super important to us, so a bit of balancing act with some of those young players getting opportunity, but I'm sure the door will open for them soon. Just
last one, how do you feel Collingwood's place, Ted? You obviously keep making prelims and premierships as well under Craig McRae. How confident are you in what the team can produce in 26?
Yeah, I feel really good. I think, as I said before, we've had a huge pre-season as a team, and we know we've got the coaches and players to hopefully make it to that last day. So now it's just about executing the game plan, which I know is the hard part, but I think we're up for the challenge.
All right, big night on Fox Footy. AFL 360 returns tonight. Jared Waitley and Gary Lyon will be joined by Chris Scott, Michael Voss and Greg Swan from the AFL. And it's over to Jack Revolts and the On The Couch team for all of the analysis ahead of opening round. That's from 7:30 Eastern. And up next on AFL Tonight, John Ralph joins us as a couple of key Pies try to prove their fitness for a clash with the Saints on Sunday night. Stay with us.
Essendon roll numbers back. He still kicks to Naz anyway. What a brilliant kick. The chemistry already on show. Looking for his fourth, never in doubt.
Takes a while to get the ball in that direction. It's teed up to him now, but over the top, Newton, one-hander, reels it in.
There's a party trick. Put up the mitt, bit of glue on the hands.
Lord Francis had more space than he realised initially, and he snaps a goal.
Up towards Larkey, couldn't quite. Darling over the top, here's LDU. Rouge supporters love to see this. He's in isolation. And then to the young man, Doverston, who puts it through.
Mason Cox hit out to the advantage of Bolton.
The Community Series, a final tune-up for the teams across the competition on the weekend. Now all is in readiness for opening round. Welcome back to AFL Tonight. I'm Drew Jones. Nice to have your company. All right, time to bring in our Monday regular for this season. And it is the Herald Sun and Fox Footy's John Ralph. Ralphie, great to see you. Thanks for your time. Big season ahead on AFL Tonight. We're still a few days out from opening round. Already there's some key players under a fitness cloud. What's the latest, starting with the Pies?
Hello, Drew. Great to be with you. Well, Collingwood's almost painted itself into a corner, hasn't it? So it rests its best 10 players against North Melbourne, 7 days out from that massive game against St Kilda at the MCG. And then it considers whether it will bring back the likes of Jeremy Howe and also Darcy Moore 6 days out from that clash. I can't see there's any way in which it would risk those two players. Now, they're both plus 30. They both have calf issues before. Imagine if it doesn't give them great preparations and all of a sudden they both come into this game and one of them pings a calf 6-8 weeks out. It's why the fitness bosses make the big bucks. I was really surprised the club rested so many players. Of course, they did a training session, those players who missed out, and they did an 11-kilometre session. But, I was up at Giant Stadium last year, this corresponding fixture where GWS just ran them off the park. So this is a game where clearly they need to be at their best in terms of their preparation, and yet they rest some players. Now, some of those guys had legitimate concerns. Jordan Ngari was one who suffered a cork buttock in the GWS in the first Community Series game, so he will be right for round one against St Kilda there. But if St Kilda runs all over the top of the Pies on Sunday night, you know what the Monday morning quarterbacks will be saying. So some more injuries from around the competition. St Kilda's really confident that Cal Wilkie's corked calf is only a cork. It's not a muscle tear. 155 consecutive games, of course. And they're really confident that Jack Silvani, the former Carlton player, will be right for that clash. He's got through the concussion protocols, will train well and play this week. Now, Oscar Allen will be fine off his concussion protocols. He's got through a lot of training there. And Hugh McCluggage with his calf injury, again, just a cork calf. He will be ready. Shattering news for Richmond's number 7 draft pick in Sam Cumming. He has a shoulder dislocation. The club will try and see if he can get through the next month. They'll try and rest him. They'll see if he's got some more stability in that shoulder. But as Doc Peter Larkin says, most of those times the player gets through the month and then the scans show that it's not fully healed and he will need shoulder surgery. That would put him out for about 4 months from then on. So there is a real chance that Sam Cumming, a player who's already been compared to last year's number 1 pick in Sam Lawler, might not see any action yet across the AFL season, a season that's done before it even started.
All right, so David Zeta brought us the news a little earlier that Hawthorn will challenge that one-game ban for Jai Newcombe. What are his chances of playing against the Giants on Saturday?
Now, I think a snowball's chance here. I can't see any way in which he gets off, and I don't think it would be good for the game if he did get off, given the precedent it would set. You just think of Sam Mitchell and the curveballs that have been thrown into his plans across that trade period. Okay, I'm going to have Zach Merritt in the midfield. I was going to have Cam McKenzie. I'm going to have Will Day. And, of course, my new captain in Jai Newcombe. Instead, now, of course, Merritt never got there. McKenzie is concussed. Day's got his shoulder injury. Won't see him for 14 weeks. And then, of course, someone like Newcombe. Look, this is the textbook case. The two things that Michael Christian considers is a player in a vulnerable position and is there excessive force. We know the Hawks will try and argue this down from medium to low impact, but that's the reason we have the capacity to cause serious injury clause. A player who doesn't get concussed, but the action is really poor. Now, no one believes that Newcombe is a malicious player here, but imagine if we don't even get to round 0, the opening round, and players now are allowed to do this. I think for the good of the game, a 1-week ban is appropriate. And I really love the fact that the AFL followed through on the tummy tap stuff. Harry Schoenberg, the former Adelaide player, now at West Coast, has copped a 1-week ban for something that back in the day would have got him a $1,000 fine. The AFL has warned us. They didn't back away from it. Now, he might potentially try and appeal that one. But I think the AFL would love them to be consistent. And I think they have across both of these cases today.
So publicly, Ralphie, the AFL is playing down concerns over the threat of injury amid the changes to the ruck rules. But privately, do you think they would be a little nervous to see how this is all going to play out?
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think Greg Swan, who has been a fantastic addition to the AFL, would almost be the most nervous man across these early games of opening round. The PCL sprain is something that so many players had leading in the last decade before we changed the rules, before we minimised the way in which you could run into a contest. Adrian Anderson, of course, changed the rules. And at that stage, 25% of the star ruckmen in the competition had a PCL concern. We saw that's exactly what we feared would be the case with Shannon Neal. Now, he has some bone bruising, he's dodged a PCL and also a hairline fracture. But at one stage there, the club was really fearful that would be the injury that might potentially put him out for 14 or 16 weeks. They're really serious injuries. They can flare up at any moment. They're a legacy injury there. So imagine if Brodie Grundy goes down with that kind of incident in the first couple of ruck contests in that Thursday night clash. We love what this new rule does in regards to players jumping at the ball. We love the fact that ruckmen are on the fly, and so are those midfielders, the flipper, the flopper, the over-the-topper, as Jerry Healy kept on talking about with Nick Nat. The ruck craft is back. And yet we just can't have these ruckmen as crash test dummies. That's not what we can allow. We can't just have the price of doing business with a new ruck rule that looks better, a litany of these PCL injuries. So the best thing about Greg Swan, if this is a catastrophe, if this does result in PCLs, the AFL will change the rules. He's alert and alarmed. He'd be a pretty nervous boy right now.
All right, so Ralphie, you've covered the Essendon supplement saga extensively in the Herald Sun in recent days. It's been fantastic. Having spoken to many people close to the drama, can you see any possibility that one day Jobe Watson will have his Brownlow medal reinstated?
I love the theatre of it. I love the drama of it. I think so many of us believe that he potentially could get it back, but it's not right under the AFL rules. The problem right now with the AFL is if you sign up to the WADA and the SADA, you can't cherry pick. You know, you're almost handcuffed. The AFL gets so much public money for the SCG and MCG renovations, and it means that you actually have to be a signature to the code come hell or high water. So Andrew Demetrio said to us in the SAC podcast, I would have fought very hard for Jobe to keep his Brownlow medal. It's a lovely sentiment, but it's not really one that's backed by reality. The old wives' tale, of course, is that when Jobe did give back the Brownlow philosophically, he never actually gave back the Brownlow medal, that it was still on his grandmother's shelf. People I've spoke to say that Gil McLachlan was adamant that he did give it back. It's in a vault somewhere at the AFL. So Nathan Lovett-Murray's lawyer and his former manager is Peter Jess. He's still fighting the fight. He says it's a 100-year war. He's still trying to find the documentation that would be the smoking gun so that all of those players could be exonerated and Jobe could get the Brownlow medal back. I think it would need something like that. I don't think public sentiment is going to carry the day. It was really unfortunate for, of course, the likes of Sam Mitchell and Trent Cotchin, who had to make those decisions to accept it, and they've been criticised in the last couple of days. I think that's really unfair, but yeah, I don't think Jobe Watson will ever get that Brownlow medal back again.
All right, Ralphie, strong start on AFL Tonight. Big season ahead. We'll see you very soon. It's John Ralph from the Herald Sun and Fox Footy. So it is a very big year ahead on AFL Tonight, and we're delighted to announce we have a big recruit joining us. Brownlow medalist and premiership midfielder Tom Mitchell will be one of our leading analysts in 2026, having recently hung up the boots after a highly decorated career across 3 clubs. He'll join, of course, John Ralph, who you just saw, as a regular on Mondays. And then, of course, Wednesday regular Will Schofield will be back as a key part of our roster this season. So we'll be with you 5:30 Eastern every Monday to Wednesday and 6 p.m. on Thursday and Fridays as we launch into pre-game mode. All right, thanks for joining us on AFL Tonight. Make sure you stay across all the latest on Fox Sports News and on Fox Footy. It's time for AFL 360.